Good evening. My name is Blair Morgan, and I tell stories for nights just like this one. Our homes are our sanctuaries. The one place we can lock the world out and feel truly, completely safe. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? But that feeling is a fragile thing that it can shatter in an instant. The moment you realize that someone, or something, has gotten inside without an invitation. Tonight I've brought you 3 supposedly true stories about that very horror, about that sacred space being violated in the most terrifying ways. But before we begin, I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments, what's the single most unexplainable thing that's ever happened in your own home? Let's share our goosebumps, and while you're thinking of your own stories, let me share one that has stayed with me for a long time. It begins with a young man named Damien Andrews. He was 19. It was a Friday night, past midnight, and every muscle in his body ached from a long shift. He pedaled his bike down the familiar, sleeping street, the only sound a low buzz of late summer cicadas and the soft crunch of his tires on the driveway. As expected, the house was dark, his parents were usually out on Fridays, and the driveway was empty. It was a scene he'd come home to 100 times. He went through the motions, almost on autopilot, rolling his bike around back to the small yard shed. The cool night air felt good on his skin. He pushed the bike in, swung the heavy wooden door shut, and heard the familiar solid click of the latch. And it was in that perfect, quiet moment, as he turned back to face the house, that he saw it. Upstairs, the small window of the master bathroom was glowing. A soft, warm light spilling into the darkness. He froze. He was certain, absolutely certain, it wasn't on when he arrived just a minute ago. Was it an innocent mistake? A sign that maybe his mom had come home early after all? Or was it the very first whisper, telling him that tonight, he wasn't alone? That last thought, the whisper, sent a cold shiver down Damien's spine, a primal warning his logical mind immediately tried to smother. He fumbled for his keys. The familiar weight in his pocket, a small, hollow comfort. The sound of the key sliding into the lock was grotesquely loud in the dead quiet of the night. The click of the deadbolt retracting echoed across the empty driveway. He pushed the door open into a wall of silence. It was a different kind of quiet than an empty house usually held. It wasn't peaceful. It was thick, heavy, a quiet that seemed to swallow the usual hum of the refrigerator and the gentle tick of the grandfather clock in the hall. It felt like holding your breath. A voice in his head, the one he always trusted, told him to stay put, to just go back to the car. But the logical part, the 19-year-old who felt foolish for being scared of his own home, pushed him forward. He stepped inside, closing the door softly behind him. The latch clicked shut with a dreadful finality. He stood there in the entryway, listening. His own heartbeat was a frantic drum against his ribs. Every instinct screamed at him not to call out, not to announce his presence to whatever was waiting in that silence. So he didn't. He moved towards the staircase, his sneakers making soft, brushing sounds on the hardwood floor, each step a declaration. I am here. He kept his eyes fixed on the top of the stairs, on the hallway that led to the bedrooms. From this angle, he could see it clearly now, a sharp, unwavering line of yellow light seeping from under the bathroom door. It wasn't flickering. It wasn't a trick of the eye. Someone was in there. He took the first step up, his hand finding the smooth, cool wood of the banister. 1 step. 2. His mind raced, desperately trying to build a fortress of logic around his fear. Okay. Mom's car isn't here. So what? Dad could have picked her up. Maybe she felt sick and he dropped her off before going to park the car. It sounded flimsy, even to him. But it was something. He was halfway up the stairs when it happened. Creak. The sound was sharp, sudden, and it came from the far end of the upstairs hall, near his parents' bedroom. He froze instantly, his body rigid, his hand clamping down on the banister. His breath caught in his throat. He strained his ears, listening for a footstep, a whisper, anything. But there was only that suffocating silence rushing back in to fill the space. 1 minute passed, then 2. Nothing. He let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding, his shoulders slumping, just the house settling. He whispered to the empty air. It's an old house. It's always making noises. He forced himself to continue, but the fear was no longer a whisper. It was a cold, hard knot in his stomach. He reached the top of the landing. The light from the bathroom door painted a sickly yellow rectangle on the dark hallway carpet. He was only a few feet away now. He made his voice work, but it came out as a strained, thin thing. "Mom!" Only the silence answered. It seemed to press in on him, heavier than before. "Dad!" He tried again, a little louder, a note of pleading in his tone. Nothing. Now he was standing directly in front of the door. This was it. The moment of truth. His rational mind made one last, desperate stand. She's in the tub, she loves to take long baths, and she always has her earbuds in, listening to those podcasts. She can't hear me. That's all it is. He nodded to himself, a jerky, unconvincing motion in the dark. It had to be that. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the round, ornate brass doorknob. It was cold, unusually cold to the touch, a deep, metallic chill that seemed to seep into his skin. He took a breath, held it, and turned. It didn't move. He tried again, putting more force into it. The knob turned a quarter of an inch and then stopped with a hard, solid clunk. It was locked from the inside. He let go of the handle as if it had burned him. His logic began to crumble. Why would she lock it? She never did. He pressed his ear against the cool, painted wood of the door, straining to hear any sign of life, the sound of running water, the faint, tinny beat of music from a pair of headphones. Anything. He heard only one thing. The frantic, terrified drumming of his own heart. He heard only one thing, the frantic, terrified drumming of his own heart. And then, another sound. A shrill, electronic shriek that pierced the silence of the house. So sudden, so violent, it felt like a physical blow. His phone was ringing now. Damien's story is about to reach its terrifying climax. But before we answer that call with him, I want you to consider a different kind of fear. Damien's terror, you see, is the fear of a ghost. A silent, unseen presence that leaves no trace. But there's another kind of horror, isn't there? The kind that isn't clean, the kind that leaves a mark, and a smell. It's what 16-year-old Ted found when he arrived at his family's isolated farmhouse one afternoon. The first thing he noticed was that the heavy wooden doors to the basement, the kind that lay flat against the ground outside, were propped wide open. He hadn't opened them. He yelled for his older brother, Andrew, who came outside, confused. Andrew swore he hadn't touched them, but as they both stood there, a breeze drifted up from the dark opening. And with it, a smell. A foul stench that made them both take a step back. Something, Andrew said, was very wrong. But before we descend into that darkness with Ted and Andrew, we have to answer the phone. Damien's phone. The one that was ringing as he stood, frozen, outside that locked bathroom door. He snatched it from his pocket, his annoyance briefly eclipsing his fear. It was his dad. Of course. He took a shaky breath and answered. "Hello. Hey, kiddo." His dad's voice was loud, slurred. The unmistakable sound of a good time Damien wasn't a part of, just checking in. "How's the house sitting?" Damien's own voice was a strained whisper. "Dad, where are you? I thought you guys were coming right back." "Ah, we got held up, decided to stay for dinner at your aunt's. You know how she is." Damien's knuckles were white as he gripped the phone. "Okay, but why'd you leave Mom here? And why'd she lock herself in the bathroom?" There was a pause on the other end, the sound of clinking glasses, distant chatter. Then his dad's voice, the drunken slur replaced by genuine confusion. "Your mom? What are you talking about?" "Mom. She's in the bathroom, the door's locked and she's not answering. I'm starting to get worried." The silence that followed was longer this time. Heavy. Damien could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Finally, his father spoke, and his voice was suddenly, terrifyingly sober. "Damien, what are you talking about? Your mother is right here beside me." The words didn't register at first. They were just sounds, disconnected from reality. His brain refused to put them together. His mother was beside him, but then who was? In that silent, stomach-dropping moment, his eyes drifted downwards. To the thin gap of darkness at the bottom of the bathroom door. And he saw them point two shadow outlines of feet, planted firmly on the floor, standing perfectly still, on the other side, literally facing the door. Facing him, primal, animal terror took over. He didn't scream. He didn't make a sound. He simply turned, his body moving on its own, and sprinted down the stairs, grabbing his keys without looking, fumbling the front door open and spilling out into the night as he peeled out of the driveway. His terrified eyes glanced back at the house just in time to see the single light in the upstairs bathroom window click off, plunging the room and the memory into darkness. The police arrived later. They found an unlocked bathroom door, an open window, and nothing else. No one. Damien's intruder was a ghost, a phantom that left nothing behind but a chilling memory. But sometimes, the horror isn't what disappears. It's what gets left behind. Ted and Andrew searched the farmhouse basement for nearly 20 minutes. It was damp, dusty, and filled with old furniture and forgotten junk. The foul smell was everywhere and nowhere, a sickeningly sweet odor they couldn't pin down. Finally, Andrew gave up and went outside to do his chores, leaving Ted alone in the house. Trying to shake the feeling of unease, Ted went into the small den adjacent to the basement stairs and flopped onto the old, musty couch to watch TV. But as he landed, it wasn't the soft give of old cushions he felt. It was firm, lumpy, unyielding. He shifted, trying to get comfortable, but it was like sitting on a pile of oddly shaped rocks. Annoyed, he pushed down on the center cushion. It barely budged, and as he did, that awful smell hit him again, stronger than ever, coming from right beneath him. His blood ran cold. With a trembling hand, he hooked his fingers under the edge of the heavy, tweed cushion. He hesitated, a voice screaming at him not to look. He didn't listen. He lifted just the corner. He saw a flash of blue plaid. An old shirt pattern he didn't recognize. With a surge of adrenaline and pure dread, he grabbed the cushion with both hands and threw it to the floor. And he screamed. He screamed until his throat was raw, because stuffed, contorted, and wedged deep into the springs and wooden frame of his family's couch was the dead body of their elderly neighbor, George. The police later determined he'd been there for at least 2 days. The killer was never found. A silent ghost who leaves no trace, a gruesome secret hidden in plain sight. But what about the horror that you invite inside yourself, the one that wears a familiar face until the very last second? This final account comes from Edward Gallowed. He was home alone one night, waiting for his girlfriend, Sarah, to get back from her late shift. Just after midnight, he heard the back door open and close downstairs. Relieved, he smiled and sent her a quick text, "Come upstairs." A moment later, he heard footsteps on the stairs, but they were wrong. They were slow, heavy, as if the person was taking 2 steps on every single stair. As the sound crept closer to his bedroom, his phone buzzed in his hand. He glanced down. The screen read, "Incoming call, Sarah." His blood ran cold. He answered, and her cheerful voice said she was just leaving work. She'd be home in 20. As she spoke, the knob on his bedroom door began to turn. Edward screamed, "Get out of my house," and locked the door. He heard the footsteps scramble away, the back door slam shut. When he finally dared to look out his window, he saw a man standing across the street under a streetlight. He was tall, wearing a clean dress shirt with ripped jean shorts. He was staring right at him, and as their eyes met, Edward saw a wide, unnatural smile spread across the man's face before he turned and vanished into the woods, never to be seen again. A phantom in the bathroom, a monster hiding in the cushions, and a smiling stranger in the dark. 3 stories. 3 different horrors. But they all whisper the same terrifying truth. Our homes are our castles, the one place we are meant to be safe. But those walls are more fragile than we think. That lock on the door is sometimes just an illusion we tell ourselves to get through the night. The real horror is not the monster you see, but the slow, creeping realization that your sanctuary has already been breached. If these stories sent a chill down your spine, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what is hiding in the shadows next. Be quick about it. Content like this, the stories that need to be told, often get flagged or hidden. Subscribe now so you don't lose us. Stay safe out there. And tonight, check your locks.